This tutorial is about creating a melody once you've got a chord progression. So I've got a track that I've developed here, and it's in the key of C, so I'm only going to use white notes. I'm only going to use chords from the key of C. And the first chord is a C, and we call that the 1 chord. The progression is a 1, 4, 5. C is the 1, F is the 4, and G is the 5. So let's have a listen to the progression. C, the 1 chord, F, the 4 chord, C, F, back to C, to the 5 chord G, to the 4 chord F, back to the 1 chord C. Now, being in the key of C, I could just use white notes and create some sort of a melody from that. Just by messing around with the white notes, and everything is going to work, but there's some notes that might work better than others, and might do a lot of messing around to find what you're looking for. But the first thing I want to say before that, in terms of creating melody, is if you can hear something from a melodic idea, that's what you should pursue. Always rely on your ear before you rely on any music theory or anything else to tell you where to go. So let's say that your ear isn't really guiding you to anything great, or you're messing around with the white notes on the piano and nothing's really sticking or sounding good to you. The concept I want to get across in this tutorial is to work with the notes of the chord to construct your melody. So if I have the C chord here, I could construct my melody from that C note, or the E note in the chord, or the G note in the chord. So I'm going to work with the melody based on C. And then when I play the F chord, that note C is also in the F chord. So I'm going to stay with that note C. And interestingly, that note C sounds different when it's played over different chords. So I'm just going to stick with that note C for the 1 and the 4 chord, the C and the F. When I go to the G, that note does work on the G chord, but I'm going to go for something a little bit more inside, that's stronger with the chord. So I'm going to work with that D note that's also in the G chord. I'm going to go back to the C note for the 4 chord, for the F chord, and then stay with the C note for my 1 chord. So let's hear that melody in action. You'll also hear that I'm using a repetition technique. I've come up with a rhythmic phrase, and that rhythmic phrase is going to be repeated over and over again throughout the 8 bars. Now the note will change for the G chord. Great, so that works perfectly well. A 2-note melody gets me through the entire piece. If I want to be a bit more melodically adventurous, or I find that that's a bit too boring, or for whatever reason you want to expand on that melody, this time what I'm going to do is I'm still going to use the C as the pivot note and the D when I'm on the G chord, but I'm going to include 2 more notes from the scale. I'm going to include a G, an A, and a C again. So those notes obviously belong to the C major scale. They're also part of the C major pentatonic scale. And let's have a listen to those extra notes, but we're still pivoting off that C note and then the D note. So there we go, still using those, the basis of the C and the D, and just embellishing it with a few other notes from the chord. So that's a concept for this tutorial, working with chordal notes to create your melody.